Angry I didn't text you on your birthday? Sorry, I'll make it up to you and you'll wish I always forgot your birthday. I know I should be better about remember birthdays. I used to live 14 hours ahead of my family, so I would remember their birthdays while they were still sleeping, then forget to call or text them during the window we're awake at the same time. My dad claimed he, my brother, and Bill were discussing how bad I am at remembering birthdays, and a simple email would suffice. My Bill insists he took no part in this convo, but he must suffer for the claims of the patriarch because I don't want my sister disinherited for her husband accusing our dad of being a liar. So I went to HubSpot and set up automated emails to all three of them. Every day since June 7th, they have received an email with the subject line Happy Belated Birthday. And the body Happy Belated Birthday. Love, Akio Mango. Yes, it took a long time to create this sequence, but you get into a rhythm with Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V. No, I had nothing better to do. They've asked me to stop these emails, and I will. But on their actual birthdays as my gift to them. EDA. They can't block me because we email each other about real things like family trips and updates. I also have the only grandchild/a nephew in the family and I email them photos of him. Go to the principal's office. I was reminded of this while replying to some comments in a post I made the other day. When I was a kid I wasn't terrible, but I was a bit ornery and had a special distaste for people who would abuse their position of authority. As a kid the authority was often a teacher. Well, sometimes teachers might say something that didn't sit right with me and I would try to debate them, but if this happened when a teacher wasn't in the mood or felt like I had stepped over a line, usually the result of the impromptu debate interrupting a class, I might find myself hearing the familiar words "Go the principal's office now." This happened probably a dozen times in middle and high school. One time I remember I had heard a teacher say to another student in my English class, "You can't make up words," to which I chimed in, "Yeah, you can make up words." She was a bit shocked at the unexpected outburst from my side of the classroom and then turned to focus her attention on me, scowl on her face, and repeated herself, "No, you can't make up words." I said, "No, you can definitely make up words. In fact, every single word you have ever used was in fact made up." Well, this got me sent to the office and here's where the MC comes in. When I got there I announced, "I'm here to make an official complaint." You see, whenever I got sent to the office, what was to stop me from providing the context? I don't remember what I said in this instance, but something about stifling my inner Shakespeare, I'm sure. Anyhow, like I said, I got sent to the office probably a dozen times when I was in school, and every time I made a formal complaint about the teacher who sent me. I never once got in trouble at the office and actually felt like I had a voice sometimes. Sure, I was a brat, but I really did get along with most of my teachers outside of a few times we butted heads. This is a bit silly, but I thought you might enjoy. Just get the sauce. Obligatory. This was the turn of the century. I was 17 and worked as a silver service waiter in the corporate boxes at a stadium for a Premier League football team who have a reputation for having mostly out-of-town fans. As a silver service waiter, your job was to make sure the box was clean for whoever was using it that day, make sure the fridges were stocked with refreshments, serve dinner after the game, depending on kickoff time, and make tea and coffee during. When you weren't required, you stood outside the box until the attention light outside the door lit up. I wasn't very good at my job, I frequently forgot things, but my patter with the customers usually saw me through. One day I was working on a box owned by a major refuse collection company, and the occupants that day were 4 of their high-level management from Scotland. 3 of them were nice enough blokes, but one was definitely the asshole of the group. I let slip I supported an opposing team and he jokingly derided me about it until I was so unfunny I just started ignoring him, and whilst everyone else would help themselves to beers and tea, he demanded that I did it. After the match it was time to serve dinner. I can't remember what the starter was, but the main was roast beef with mash and veg, and dessert was profiteroles with chocolate sauce. I dished everything out and went to get the gravy, but because I was so damned slow there was none left. When I went back to tell the box, they were all fine with it except asshole. This is ridiculous. Go and get me some sauce. Me, I'll see what I can do, but they're definitely out of gravy. Just get the sauce. I went into the kitchen and asked the chef dutifully for some sauce. He looked confused and told me they were out of gravy. Me, he doesn't want gravy, he wants some sauce. The chef poured me a ladle of the sauce into a gravy boat and handed it to me. Chef, are they having dessert already? Me, no. I left the kitchen, re-entered my box and put the gravy boat in front of asshole. Me, I managed to get you some sauce. Then I left. And waited. 30 seconds later I hear a loud expletive and see the attention light is lit. I walk in to find asshole red-faced. It's fucking chocolate. Me, yes, for the profiteroles. Oh, you didn't put it on your dinner, did you? He had. Get me another one. At this stage, there were no dinners left as the staff had eaten them all, so he had to make do with a sandwich whilst his friends laughed at him. I can't remember whether he had dessert or not. You want me to submit timesheets? You got it. I used to work at a large, international company in an inside sales role where we were paid on a salary plus commission basis. My boss sucked, there was no career path, and the corporation was an incoherent mess, but the team was cool and the money was good, so it wasn't a bad gig overall. Fast forward to the end of my second year on the team and our boss calls a team meeting where his boss announces that after a long, protracted battle with the Department of Labor our team were being reclassified as hourly employees, and going forward we would need to submit timesheets in order to receive our base earnings. Needless to say, since we were accustomed to taking all the free time available to us during the day for lunch, coffee/smoke breaks, etc., not to mention accruing and using vacation time that no one actually bothered tracking, this was not a popular decision. After a few minutes of us arguing and pushing back against this, my boss announced that the decision was done and we earned the bulk of our pay through commissions, so we'll just have to deal with it. Okay, fine. At this point I feel that I should mention that I have a somewhat casual relationship with time. When it comes to important things like client appointments I'm always prompt and ready to go right on time, but in terms of showing up for work exactly when I need to start my day, or 15 minutes early as some bosses expect, is just not my thing. My attitude has always been that, as long as you're producing and getting your job done, who cares if you're 15 minutes late in the morning or take an extra long break in the afternoon or peace out right at 5 on the dot. It's an office job, not one where someone else is relying on my promptness to end their shift. I've consistently been a top 2 or 3 performer, and while I've had my share of obligatory please show up on time conversations with bosses, they eventually realize I'm super productive, so just let me do my thing. So now I need to start documenting my time. I check the official HR notice about the change and my role is expected to work a maximum of 40 hours a week. And now that I'm an hourly employee instead of salaried, I'm, surprise surprise, eligible for overtime. Well, if I'm forced to do this and rules are rules, then I'm going to document my hours perfectly. I start noting exactly when I show up at the office in the morning, start and end of every break, and exactly when I leave down to the minute. At the same time I started to work straight through my lunch hour, and I started showing up a few minutes earlier than usual to start my day too, to clock in properly. I started submitting timesheets for 45 to 50 hours a week and started to bank a fat chunk of overtime at time and a half per paycheck that I previously was ineligible for and was not budgeted for by the company. Fast forward a few weeks and my boss calls me over to his desk. He had my timesheet up with start and end times like 8:23 a.m. and 5:12 p.m., etc., and was not happy. I forget what exactly he said, but he basically told me to knock it off and round my times to the official start and end time like everyone else on the team. He wasn't a bright individual, and I realized 3 things. He just didn't like counting my hours to the minute. Basic math is tough. He never said anything about my non-existent lunch breaks, and he either knew nothing or said nothing about my on pay. No problem, boss, you got it. From then on my start and end times matched the official times, but I continued to either work through lunch or take only 30 minutes of the allocated 60 minutes and continue to submit timesheets with 2 to 5 hours of ought. I never heard another peep from my boss, and a few weeks later they quietly discontinued the manual timesheets and just paid us in full at our annual salaried rate. You want a meeting to discuss our phone account? Okay, let's have a meeting. I'm not sure if this belongs in petty revenge or malicious compliance, for there's a little of both, so sorry if this has been put in the wrong place. Either way, I've enjoyed my malicious revenge/compliance, so I hope you do. For the past few years our business has been receiving telemarketing calls from an offshore call center trying to make appointments for Optus Business Center. Every time they call, we'd politely tell them we were not interested and to remove us from their list, and they'd promise not to call again. You can probably tell by my use of the words every time that having ourselves removed from the list didn't work. It didn't work the first time, and it didn't work the 50th time. Offshore are cheap, and get paid per appointment. So they would get quite aggressive. It was clear that a new strategy needed to be found, as it was taking too long to get them to bugger off. So began my campaign of malicious compliance/petty revenge. Hi, we're calling from Optus Business Center and we can save you 40% on your mobile phone bill. Can we come and see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.? You can save me 40% of my mobile bill? That's like 60 grand a month. What? How many phones do you have? 150 or so that I'm responsible for directly, plus a few others. The appointment is quickly confirmed. The next day a salesman calls me up. He's running early. Can we meet earlier? I refused. Our appointment is for 11 a.m. after all. 11 a.m. rolls around and in he walks. We sit down in reception and go through the greetings. I then ask him if it's possible to make the telemarketing calls stop now. He assures me that it is, and so I stand up, shake his hand and thank him for coming in. What? That's it? You could have said that over the phone. I point out that we did. Many times, and it didn't work, and I hoped that this waste of his time, 45 minutes trip from Homebush to Sydney, would perhaps teach him to mend his ways. Over the past 2 years they have sent out 5 different reps to see us. They call for meetings, we accept them, shine them on about the value of the account, and they roll in to be greeted by me dressed in a chicken suit, made to wait in our meeting room for 20 minutes before being asked to be removed from the list, being turned away at the door. They sent 2 reps that time. I'm posting this today because it was visit number 6 and it was the best yet. We got a repeat customer. I sat him down in the meeting room and played the video recording of our last meeting. Smile. Is that you? Yes. It's me. Didn't I follow up? Did we have a good meeting? I point out that I certainly enjoyed our last meeting, and zoomed forward in the video to the part where I explained that we didn't have 500 mobile accounts, and he needed to please remove us from their list, and you could see his heart break. Which it did again, once he realized that whatever account he thought was being discussed today was not going to be discussed. Which we also have on video, so we can go all inception if/when he shows his face again.